Hello, welcome to AltheaSuite. Today, I'm going to be talking about unload schedules. To get started, we're going to go into our purchasing module, and then we're going to go into unload schedules. So in here, I have this unload schedule up here for Whirlpool. It's still pending right now. If I take a look at it, we're going to be unloading this PO number right here. It's got 3 different items in it. You can view that PO for these Whirlpool items, MED, WRF, and KDT. So one of each of those is coming through this truck. To get started with the unloading, we're going to go to the context menu. Then we're going to click on Unload Truck. Now, once we're in the unloading schedule, all we're simply going to do is be scanning the model number. In this case, I'm going to be emulating this by copying the SKU here and dragging it up there to our SKU field. Once I press enter, it's prompted me to record the serial number, so I'm just going to type it in. You could also scan this if you have the barcode handy. Once we do that, we're going to press OK. What that does is it moves it from this items to unload little tab, and then it moves it into the unloaded items tab. Now in here, in this tab, we can go to the context menu, and we do have a couple of options. If we wanted to change the PO that this item is associated with, maybe this item existed in a different PO number with a different cost, here is where we can change that PO number to reflect exactly which PO it's coming from. We could also move this item to a kept aside tab, which will want us to add that to another PO or create another PO. The items that go into the kept aside items are basically items that weren't originally on the PO that we've selected for this unload schedule. To show you this, I'm going to be scanning in a model number that we don't have on the PO. So this is WTW. So once we scan it in, the system does recognize that this model does exist in the system. And now it wants us to record the serial number for it. So I'll just type in the serial number again. And then once I press OK, normally if the items existed in the items to be loaded tab, it'll go into the unloaded tab, but because that item wasn't in the PO, it moved it to a kept aside tab. Now in here, it wants you to either apply a PO that exists, or we can drop it down and select a PO that we might have already open. So if we do hit that apply PO button, open up this window, and it's taking a look at any open POs that we have. So you can see in here, we have one in here. The PO is still pending, so it hasn't been unloaded in any way. So we're just going to click to highlight that, and then we're going to press the OK button. What that does is it's now collected that and associated that item with that PO that we just selected, and it moved it into the unloaded items. Now, when it's in this tab right here, we do have the option again to change that PO if we want to switch it back to another PO or create a whole new one entirely. So that's how to deal with the kept aside items. You can also reject them too. So if I move that back to the queue, we have one of the options to reject the item. Maybe it was completely damaged, or maybe it was just an extra model on the actual truck. So now I'm going to go back to my items to be unloaded. And I'm going to finish out my unload schedule by collecting the serial number for this guy. The system does recognize if these models, when you scan it into this field, if they have any revision numbers. They're also called reiteration numbers, run numbers, the like. So these might be stylized like a 01 or a 02 with a space in between the last little letter of the model number. If you press the enter, or if you're scanning this in, it'll automatically press enter for you. But it does recognize that that model does exist in the system as well. So let's go ahead and add its serial number. And then once I press OK, everything gets moved out of that queue. They all exist in my unloaded items, and there's nothing in my kept aside items. You can see that all of these models got their QLens assigned to them as well. So now we have all this information. We're ready to go ahead and complete the unloading. And that's how you complete the unload schedules and how to deal with any items that go into the kept aside tab. Thank you.